Today's guest epitomizes for me what this podcast is truly about. And that is to bring you homeopathy from all the corners of the world and showcase our incredible community and the out-the-box thinking and creative solutions we can come up with in the face of adversity. A big thank you goes to Richard Pitt, who put me in touch with today's fascinating guest, Barbara Braun in Eswatini, formerly known as Swaziland. Not only has Barbara done amazing work to give life-saving help to the people of Eswatini, she is also doing incredible work to help save the endangered plants in this area, and along with the local healers, they are creating homeopathic remedies from these plants to ensure their healing ability lives on forever. You can learn more from the book that she released along with Richard Pitt, which you can purchase on Amazon. It is called Homeopathic Remedies from Southern African Endangered Medicinal Plants, exploring the homeopathic use of endangered traditional medicines. I have just bought 10 copies, which I'm going to be giving away as gifts, and I cannot wait to receive it. Please go and support them on their Facebook page as well. So if you type in Swaziland Homeopathy Project on Facebook, their page will come up with all of Barbara's details. So if you would like to go and physically help out at their clinic, or you would like to donate or be involved in some way, just visit the Swaziland Homeopathy Project Facebook page and you can go from there. This is such a fascinating episode. I had so much fun chatting with Barbara, and I hope that you enjoy this.
Welcome to the Homeopathy Hangout, where we discuss all things homeopathy from around the world. And now my mum and your host, Eugenie Kruger.
Hello, homies, and a very warm welcome to Homeopathy Hangout. Today, I have a very special guest all the way from Swaziland, Barbara Braun. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thank you.
I can officially say you're our first guest from Swaziland. I never thought I'd get to be anyone from there, so it's really a treat to have you on. And I think it was the lovely Richard Pitt that recommended you, because we've been trying to connect for a little while, so it's extra special to have you on.
Yes, it was Richard, I'm sure. He's my old friend. And he has also been to Swaziland, which is officially now Eswatini, by the way.
Oh, I did not know that. When did that happen?
I think it was 2019 or 2020 or somewhere around
really? There. Oh, sorry. I'm clearly behind the times.
We're a couple of decades behind everybody else changing their names, but it's fine.
That's funny, because I left South Africa in 97, and obviously a lot of places have changed names since then. And I don't know what those places are. Like, I don't know what their new names are. I still know all of it by the old names. So that's quite funny. I did not know Eswatini. Okay. Sorry. I will correct that.
No worries. But we've held on to it in some ways. Yeah.
Barbara, you have to tell us the story of how you found homeopathy, because you've been doing this for a little while. How did you find homeopathy?
I didn't really find it. It's been part of my life, probably my whole life. My mother was she was a highly trained nurse, midwife in the medical field and everything, but she was very suspicious of antibiotics. And she came from an old German, if it doesn't kill, it strengthens, that kind of don't bother with anything, you'll get over it, sort of, that kind of old fashioned. It was an ethos from my grandmother. And when I think I was probably not even 2, I crashed through a window, toddling through a glass window and cut open my eye. And she took me off to the doctor, and he said, look, let's see if we can put some penicillin in here. I don't know, those days it was the 60s. They wanted to do stuff with antibiotics. And she said, okay, hold on, because I'm allergic, she says. And then, so he puts a bit of ointment and my eye comes up like a balloon, and he says, this one's allergic. So I was allergic to antibiotics from pre-2, and she was very hands off, you'll recover. And so we had that start. And I actually don't think in my whole life, I never had antibiotics. And by the time I was 18, I was already using homeopathy. So I actually can't really remember when it wasn't part of my life. So it's not very exciting as a story.
That is really exciting. And you know what? I can make the same joke with you that I do with my kids because they've never had antibiotics or pharmaceutical drugs. And I always say to them, they can sell their poo and make a lot of money because there are so many people these days. You can do that too, Barbara. I can be like a side gig for you because there's so
Yeah.
many people that have had so many rounds of antibiotics. Their
Yeah.
gut flora is so
Yeah.
destroyed. And with fecal transplant being such a big thing, might be some money in that for
Yeah,
you.
it is a thing. One of the funny stories, it was sort of kind of colonial British place, Eswatini, Swaziland in the 60s. And one of my mom's friends was being introduced to the neighborhood, and she'd come from Tanzania, and her, not even a toddler, her baby was crawling on the grass of the lawn with these giant ridgebacks chewing bones, and he had a bone in his mouth. And one of them said, "Oh dear, your baby." "Oh," she says, "what doesn't kill strengthens." He
Well,
made it to adulthood.
you came out okay. Oh my goodness.
So
But you were born in Swaziland, right? But you studied in the UK. And how did you get to Swaziland?
my parents left South Africa in 1958. My dad was a lawyer, and he saw the writing on the wall, and he really didn't like what was going on politically. So they went on their honeymoon to Mozambique via Swaziland, where my grandfather's best friend lived. And they said, "Look, why don't you come and live here? You could set up your practice. You can work as a barrister and a conveyancer, and it's a nice place." So that's how we literally just upped and offed after the honeymoon. So both my sister and I were born in Swaziland, which was still
Wow.
British at that time.
And then you went
So
back
we
to the UK to study. And was it osteopathy that you did initially?
I did a degree first in zoology and microbiology.
Wow.
That was my first path. And then while I was doing that, I had some friends who lived in North Wales, and we'd go up there for the holidays, the vacs. And my friend Joyce was an osteopath, and I looked at what she was doing and I thought, this could be good. So I ended up as an osteopath. And then the college where I trained was everything: osteopathy, homeopathy, herbal medicine, psychotherapy. And it was an amazing experience, a sort of apprenticeship. So then I just moved from there to homeopathy. And then I did acupuncture. And yeah, it was long ago. It feels like another lifetime.
Holy moly. And how incredible. I think that's like the trifecta. If you've got osteopathy and acupuncture and
Yeah.
homeopathy, they work together so well. And you draw from one for the other. But can you tell me a little bit about that? Like, did you practice the other too much, or was it just homeopathy? And did you draw from the other modalities to make you a better homeopathic prescriber? Like, how do you use those?
It's really interesting. I think when I was working in the UK, I could see that there you focus and you do one thing because you have a big population of people and you can be a specialist. When I went back to Swaziland, I couldn't do that. I had to be a generalist in a sense. That's why I had so many different modalities to pick on. But what tends to happen is you tailor it to your patient. I always combine homeopathy and osteopathy. Because if someone comes to me for the osteopathy, then they're definitely going to get a remedy, whether they like it or not, because it's a perfect adjunct. TCM, the acupuncture, it is also amazing. I know there's another homeopath, Barclay Digby. He also combines TCM and homeopathy, 5 elements and stuff. You know Barclay?
I don't, but there's quite a few homeopaths that do. And I actually did a master practitioner course with Hilary Dorian through CHE, and she did the TCM. And I used that just this week because my lips were so dry. It was driving me crazy. And so I had to look through my lecture notes, and it said the spleen opens up into the lips. And I took Cyanothus, which is a good organ support for the spleen, and my lips got better. So I do think homeopaths need to learn a little bit more of that.
And it's great because the tongue is such a great diagnostic tool. When we were doing our training, when we started training our local homeopaths, we were inspired by, so the way we started our project was a inspiration from Maun, from the Maun Homeopathy Project.
Yeah, I've had her on the...
Hilary.
Yes, I've had her on the podcast.
Hilary, yeah. So we're quite connected with the Mound Project, and we train 7 students, and they train 3 from the same deal that we got with CPH. And we had decided that over the 4 years, at the end of each year, we would get a guest speaker, or we would do something as a kind of a week's workshop. So we got Jeremy in, and then we got Ellen from CPH. And then the last year, we decided we would all go to Botswana, and we got the students to do their own presentation. So they must decide what they're going to do. And it was really nice. It was a great week. But I decided, let's do the tongue. So we did tongue diagnosis for everybody. And it was so much fun because it's just such a simple thing. With TCM, you can really tell what's going on. And it gives you that little extra diagnostic key, for we work in Africa, we work very quickly, and we work without a computer repertory because we're under a tree, and you need to think quickly. So you need those little added helps. Otherwise, your patient wants to leave, and they don't want to wait for 3 hours while you repertorize. So these little things are useful.
Oh, I would love to see more training for
And
homeopaths.
pulse as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd love to see more training for us on tongue diagnosis, because mine is very basic. I'll get them to stick a tongue out, and if it's scalloped, I might give them Mercosol, and if vibrating, I might give them Lacasis, and if it's white, I might give them Borax or whatever. But that's as far as my tongue diagnosis goes. But I know it's way more than that you can tell.
No,
And
it's
it can
really
be a
useful.
good confirmatory symptom, like a confirmatory as well. If you're thinking about it, then stick the tongue out, and then it confirms.
Yeah, because with heat and cold and things like that, you're often sitting with 2 remedies, and you think, which one would it be? And then you look at the tongue and you see, this is a hot person here. There's definitely a problem with heat. And that shifts you. You can, I don't know, you need all the tools you can.
You
especially
really
with
do.
homeopathy.
And with osteopathy, because I know there's like Jill Turlin that did osteopathy and the mega potency. So she was saying that her and her husband could palpate the difference like within seconds of taking like a mega potency remedy. Can you feel the difference when you've given somebody a remedy?
I don't really do it like that. I tend to give them the remedies to take afterwards because I can see a bigger picture. So I'll do the osteopathy and cranial first. And then I'll think, okay, this is where the imbalance is, or this is where they need the support. So that's maybe going to be the remedy that they need. But it's not always that clear. I have to say, I don't have any fixed rules. I try and go with an instinctive thing.
Beautiful. Oh my goodness. I love that. Can you tell us a little bit about the clinics in Africa and how, did you go straight into private practice, or did you do multimodality clinic, or what did you do when you started out, and how has that evolved?
So I just started basically doing my private practice as it was before. And then 2 things happened. A friend of mine came from Maun, and she came to visit in Eswatini, and she came to me for a treatment, and her son lives in Eswatini. And she said, why don't we do something here, like Maun? So I said, yeah, that's a great idea. And I know exactly what we're going to do. Another friend was running a handicraft project. She had about 1,000 artisans weaving. I don't know, I'm sure you've seen them, those beautiful sisal baskets. They're the most exquisite handcraft. They're like coil weaving. They make a circle with a type of grass, and then they weave sisal in a circular coil, and they make these beautiful patterns. They were exquisite. And she had regenerated an old tradition that had started to become out of fashion. And the master weavers were training the younger women. But this was at the beginning. This was like 2003, 2004, and AIDS whacked us. And she was losing her weavers to HIV, even though they had art and all the other interventions. People were just dying. So she said, wouldn't we, because that was the foundation of the Maun project, was HIV. So wouldn't we do something with her? So we started once every 2 weeks. We had about 10 remedies, polycrests, and we headed off into the bush. And we literally just did that. We just took the case, and we hoped that we'd have a remedy. And then I rushed off to the UK and I bought a Sulis that works entirely with the Sulis, which is how I basically gained faith in the Sulis, because we had no choice. We didn't have money for remedies. People got better. And then we were able to make whatever we needed. So anyone who says that Sulis is smoking gun or whatever it is.
That was me until earlier this year. I got one and I've had amazing results for myself and I am blown away. Yeah, I'm converted. I know. I'm like, the rates were made by dowsing. And just like, how does it work? But it works. It's nuts.
It's nuts. And don't use the Sulis now that much, except for things we don't have. But we've now got this beautiful, huge, amazing pharmacy that our donors have helped us get. But in the beginning, for 6 months, that's all we had. Bit of Saclac and the Sulis.
Oh, wow.
So it was an eye-opener for me because, I think everybody has to go through that process.
And it's good to have a bit of healthy skepticism, right? And just for those who don't know what we're talking about, it's a radionics machine. I have a Bionetics, but I know there's the Sulis brand as well. And I only got the Bionetics because, funny enough, Jill Turland, that's the one that she used. And she has only ever used that in her 40 years of practice because where she was based, she couldn't access remedies back in the day. And so she had this machine that exclusively has used that with her mega potencies and everything else. I don't know what to tell you. Every single time I make a remedy on it, I am so skeptical. And then I cannot believe that it works. And it does. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. And we've used it on horses and dogs and all sorts of things. We've made remedies with the Sulis. We had a problem of our chickens were infested with lice. So we need a cure. So we put some chicken lice in a little vial and we copied it and we made it into a 10X. And then we made a huge big bucket full of lice treatment and we sprayed it all over the chicken house and the lice disappeared.
I did that with a client's snot just last week. I got it to blow into a tissue, put it in a Ziploc bag, put it on the Bionetics, made her a remedy. And of the last 2 years of trying to give her remedies to help her, this is the one that helped the most. So,
isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's amazing.
We did it with those women. There was another handicraft group. So we had these 2 groups and they were using black dyed sisal. They were dyeing it and they were all having this cough. Black stuff, right? Obviously, it's the sisal. So we, no problem, into the Sulis, make black dye sisal, and it cleared up their cough.
Now, I have a question for you because this has come up a few times. And it comes up all the time and I have had different responses. Do you reckon the radionics remedies last as long as the hand succussed or conventionally made remedies?
So we've debated this a lot. I don't actually know, but one of the homeopaths that I worked with, who's an amazing intuitive homeopath, her name is Ruth Odendal. She was able to feel the remedies. So she could take a water remedy and she said, they feel a bit hard. That was her words. But there was I don't know if they expire or get finished. I've not stretched them because you don't need to. You can just make a fresh one. So I'm not really sure, but they are slightly different. They're a little bit, she says they felt hard. There was like a hardness to them.
So interesting because I think there's so many fallacies that we are taught in homeopathy and then we just perpetuate them because we do as our masters taught us instead of testing things out for ourselves. And one of that is like not eating or drinking half an hour before, peppermint or coffee, all that. I've done all that with my remedies and they still work. And one of them is heat, that the remedies are destroyed by heat. So what I did over the last couple of summers is I've got a first aid kit. I know aconite stops a sore throat in its tracks within half an hour for my whole family for the last decade. So I left the first aid kit in the car in the 40 degrees Celsius heat here in Perth. So it's probably 50 or 60 degrees in the car all summer long. And I use the aconite from that and it works every time. And that's what we need to do. We need to have critical thinking, right? Not just say this is it or this is it. Try it. Try your make a radionics remedy, leave it there for a few years and see if it still works.
Absolutely. Have you ever made a paper remedy?
I have only a couple of times and I'm not sure if it worked enough. I would have liked to have used it more, but I have gotten clients that have used it and they've had really good success. And when my mum was in hospital in Kazakhstan and couldn't get anything, I got her to do paper remedies. Her situation was very critical, so I don't know how much the remedies helped, but I have made paper remedies. Yeah.
Yeah, we've also done that and been amazed.
Okay, I'll take you one further. I have had a psychic remedy sent to me at the start of this year. And my cycles were a little bit all over the place. And Eileen Noman sent me this remedy. It's right at the start of this year. And my cycles regulated immediately from when she sent me the remedy. It was unbelievable. And I am a really big skeptic. You wouldn't think it because I'm such a big homeopathy advocate, but I am the biggest skeptic of homeopathy. Every time something like this works, I'm so surprised.
I think one has to have an open mind. We just don't have who laid the rules down. It's the same with your prescription. I remember a case of, we had a guy in with terrible epilepsy, and he was on phenobarb, and he was having a seizure every other day. And he was triggered by flashing like fire or water. And so it was interesting. There was a visiting volunteer homeopath visiting us. This was in Eswatini. And he'd prescribed lysin, lysinum. And I think it gave him a 30C. And the seizures just increased by tenfold. So he was having them like every hour. And we saw him at the next consult. And I thought, I know that this doesn't sound right, but the remedy is correct. It's just the potency that we need to tweak. So I went right up to 10M or something ridiculous. And he never had a seizure again. You've just got to kind of, I don't know. I don't think I know there are rules, but I think sometimes you've got to look at your case and go, okay, what do you really feel is going to work in this situation?
And trust your instinct a bit as well, because I know lysinum has got the thing with the shiny objects as well. Hey, and yeah.
Yeah. There were other things in the case too. It was clearly the right remedy. And I mean, no, you must take it away. It's an aggravation. Yeah, but it seems to be the right one.
And the fact that it did that it increased things that much. And this is where experience comes in as well. The fact that it increased that much shows it had some resonance with a vital force. If it didn't, it just wouldn't have done anything. But the fact that it's something that, and you would have, as a new practitioner, thought, oh, I've just aggravated this client. It's the wrong remedy, go something else. But it's interesting that there was something in you that tweaked to go.
It's got to go up somehow. Whatever the situation was, that was the way we needed to go. Anyway, I've detracted off the subject. So we started doing these outreach. It really is outreach. It was literally under a tree. We had some very noisy churches where we worked in, but we carried a tent and all our remedies once we had them. And in 2009, we got a donor from Switzerland. And of course, because they were Swiss, homeopathy wasn't a strange thing to them. And they've helped us since then. We couldn't have done what we're doing since 2009. I mean, we've got thousands of patients on our database and we're still going. And thanks to them. And they enabled us to do the medicinal plant project, to expand our project into the gardens. And we went from being under a tree to being under many trees.
Because I think does Kula Natural Health, do you have a link there somewhere as well?
Yes. So what happened was we originally met Nicolene and Manuel in Holland, I think in 2009. And then they came in 2015 to visit they were looking for somewhere to start a project. They've been in Malawi. And so they came and we met up and then we did a knowledge sharing trip because our donors met them in Switzerland because they have a Swiss connection. Manuel is Swiss and I think they still work in Switzerland to raise funds for Kula. So we're all connected. So then we took our whole team for a knowledge sharing trip to visit them in 2020. It was just during COVID or just after COVID. And it was so nice. We connected, we did a presentation on our new remedies, our homeopaths all shared. And then we've been volunteering there since. We all take turns volunteering because they have really poked the bear. They've got this massive clinic. It's crazy. They bus 3 or 4 quantums of people in every day. So you need a team of 10 homeopaths to get through that queue. It's insane.
Wow.
So you work your butt off there. But it's an amazing thing they've done. And I take my hat off to them because it's really it's a monster that they've got to keep going.
I just
The
think it's so
demand, I
amazing.
mean, they're covering about 5 million people in Northern Natal. They've done over 30,000 consults since 2015. That's amazing.
It is amazing. Wow.
Yeah. So their thing is amazing. I'm in awe of what they've done. It makes our little thing, like we're a little 5-man team, and they've got this juggernaut of a project. And now they expanded into Limpopo and into Eastern Cape. So they've got these little satellites going, and it's so brilliant what they've done.
Amazing. Something I'm really excited. There's a couple of things I want to chat about because one of it sounds like you are really good at recording results, and I think you've written for
Yes.
Homeopathic Research Institute and things like that as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we'll go there next. But the plants is the thing that I'm really excited about talking with you. But let's do the researchy part first, and then go into the plants. So just tell me a little bit about that.
So one of the problems with having a donor that's not a homeopath, or their board wanted us to prove that what we were doing was a good intervention, because we're rushing out and we're saying that we're helping people with HIV, and how do we prove it? So my sister, who's an incredible whiz she does databases. So she created this database. So we created a score, an overall health score based on an oncology score, where you have a 10-part kind of description of your health. So if you're below 5, generally you're not doing too well. And if you're below 4, you're probably bedridden, you can't walk. And then between 6, 7, and 8, you've got the problem, it's bothering you, it's stopping you from working. And then as you get further up, it's just there a little. So it was an analog. So you can, people don't just say, oh, I'm 10 out of 10, which is what they have a tendency to do. And that was an overall health score. And then we decided we needed 2 things to compare, so we could actually look at the remedies and the relationship between the symptoms and the remedies that we were prescribing. And so we created a 5-part visual analog score, which is in the reverse. So 5 was the highest degree of problem. So if your headache is a 5, it's there all the time, it's terrible and you can't deal with it. And then a 0 would be cleared. So we could score symptoms and overall scores. So in 2009, we created a top sheet so that every case is summarized on the top sheet and the scores are clear. So you can it's very simple. The homeopath just interrogates the patient before and after they've been through the consult, and you can get an idea. And then we had a patient score and a practitioner score. And then those symptoms are just scored by the practitioner. So you write your remedy down, and then you have the symptoms. So if it's a headache, head pain worse at night, or head pain temples, or head pain throbbing, or whatever kind of rubric you've got. And then next to it, you'd have the remedy. So that goes in, because we're working classically, you can do that. So you're associating the symptoms with one remedy. If you're not working classically, it's a little bit more complicated. But anyway, we're trying to be classical. And then in it goes to the database, and then you can say, okay, let's see, are we using a lot of Nat Mir, or what is the biggest prescription that? And it was fabulous, because then we could just call up a table and it says 56% of our patients are better, or whatever. We were able to do all this analysis. And in 2015, we presented in Rome on 1,000 patient HIV study. So we had 1,000 HIV patients. Some were on ARV, some were not. And we were able to do statistics on that. And they said, this is impossible. You couldn't have such good results. Your stats are flawed. And we were like, no, they are not. This is 1,000 patient study. The stats are not flawed.
That's what I love about Africa. I think people are much more like forthright. They say something
anyway,
like
we got our abstract accepted, and yeah, it was a great study. And then it's been amazing, because then we could do other things. Like we did an article for the Heritage, the Indian publication, Homeopathic Heritage. They had a theme on female hormonal issues or whatever. And so we just pulled out all the patients who were on contraceptive injection, depot, and any kind of hormonal contraception. And we looked at side effects of the contraception. And that was not 1,000, that was like 60 patients, which is still a reasonable number. And we were able to see which remedies were most useful with women on contraception and what side effects were most common. It was really interesting because things came out that we had no idea. You tend to think of the big sepia and pulsatilla, and you think those would be the most effective. But actually, it was the miasmatic remedies, tuberculinum, carcinosin. Those ones seem to have a longer and deeper effect, which obviously you're working on a miasmatic level. But that was really interesting because we didn't expect that.
That was interesting. It'd be also interesting if you got a little bit of a vial. If somebody, after they had their depot shot, brought the vial to you, put that on the Sulis and then try that.
There's an idea.
as well.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is very interesting. And you're still continuing to keep the data?
Oh, yeah. The database is ongoing. It's such an important thing for us. It helps us so much because every year we have to do a report to our donors. So we can work. I mean, we just do the demographics alone. We can do how many male, female, how many children under the age of, how many patients how many HIV patients, how many patients. We're not really focused on HIV anymore, not like we were in the beginning, but still it's a statistic that we can pull out. Things like grief. We can look at mentals. Mentals are so important, and they're such an important thing that we are able to do that isn't really addressed in other modalities really. Things like, we have a big problem with chronic hypertension here, where people are put on antihypertensives and then they still have a skyrocketing blood pressure. And that can be very easily addressed with remedies. And so we can look at something like that, pull it out of the database and say, so many of our patients have hypertension, or more clinical stuff that is useful for people who are not necessarily interested in the homeopathic side of it. So it's a resource. It's an incredible resource. And now with the new remedies, we can go to all the patients taking the new remedies in our clinics, and we can start building clinical evidence for them because we've got the scores. So, and we've noticed something with the new remedies. Were the first 3 that we started with, because we started in 2016 using new remedies in the clinics.
And you mean the new plant remedies that you've created?
Yes.
You're talking about?
The 6 proving.
Okay.
The new provings. So it helps with our provings because we can say, now we're using them in the clinics, and these are the conditions that, these are the symptoms, not so much conditions, but symptoms that we've been seeing changes in. So we can now add those to the provings. So in a way, it's working as it's a great tool. And we did give it to Maun, and we gave it to Jeremy, and also to Kenya. Richard was in Kenya at the time, and we started using it for Kenya there. Oh. So it's been amazing.
So let's give our listeners like a little bit of a background. So you had the idea to make remedies from the native plants in Eswatini, right? So, how did that come about?
It was about money, as usual. Our donors said, okay, you guys are not sustainable. It's time out. We've helped you for long enough. This is in 2015. The clinics, are not sustainable. And so we can't fund you anymore. I thought, oh my God, we're going to close down. We can't carry on. There's got to be something we can, So they are called SAHI, Sustainable Agriculture, Health, Environment and Education. So I thought, okay, conservation. Oh, endangered medicinal plants. Oh, okay. But it's a brilliant idea, because if the plants are expiring, we still have the remedies. So we developed this, and it is actually a brilliant idea. And we actually went to HRI with this one, and they didn't even hesitate. So the idea is the plant is becoming extinct, and one of the ones that we've proved is almost gone in Eswatini. There's 20 plants left. And the whole of Southern Africa, it's very much on the red list. If you've got the remedy, you only need a drop, and you can make it for perpetuity. And so our idea was we would introduce the homeopathic remedies to the traditional healers and see if they worked in a similar way as a 6C as it would as in a herbal form. I mean, it was all a bit of a gamble, because who knows that the provings might not even have done anything. Anyway, we just decided, let's try it. So we went to the traditional healers. We started with them, and we thought they'll know which are the most important plants that are being threatened. So we came up with a list, and we started with this Warburgia, which is a incredible remedy. It's an incredible herb. It's an amazing plant. It's a resource. And its name is Warburgia salutaris, because this guy, Henry Warburg, whatever his name was, found it was an incredible thing. And they're using it in Germany as an alternative to these superbugs, in the hospitals, because it's an incredible antibiotic. And so that's how we started. We just threw all our toys into the mix, and we started these provings, and they led us which one is next and which ones we should use. And then the last 4 provings, no, in fact, all 5 of the provings that we did after the first one was a mixed bag of provers, not traditional healers, just volunteers, some homeopaths. And then the rest we decided to do with the traditional healers, because it's the obvious group. And they were amazing to work with. And we've developed this incredible knowledge sharing and trust, which everybody said, no, you'll never get it. They don't want to share. It's intellectual property. And we said, we're going to honor that. And we're not using it in the same way. So it's been a beautiful journey. And now we've published the book, and we're using the remedies, and they are amazing. It's only the last one that we don't have too much information on, but I think that one's going to be the most exciting of them all.
I did not know there's a book. Okay, so where do we get the book, and what's it called?
It's called Conserving Endangered Medicinal Plants Through Homeopathy. I think it is. I'll show you the link. It's on Amazon. Richard and I wrote the book together. We did the proving.
Oh, I do think he mentioned something like that now that you say it. But was it only recently published?
Yes, just in the last 6 months. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think because when Richard and I spoke, it was just being finalized. That is so exciting. So we'll put the link in the show notes so people can purchase that. That is amazing, Barbara. Wow.
Yeah.
Can I ask, were they triturated, or how did you make the remedies?
So we didn't want to take we wanted to do it properly. So we collected the entire plant, as much as of the plant we could, and we sent it all through to W.Last in Joburg, the homeopathic pharmacy. And they did it to the German HAB process. So it was done through the lab. We wanted to do it so that our donors, who are Swiss, would not say, well, your scientific process is flawed because you guys used a pestle and mortar. But
trituration is so amazing, though. It would be, especially with
I
these
know.
plants.
We did.
You did?
Oh, we did on the side. But for the actual process of the research, it was all done through the W.Last in their lab.
So they did the trituration in the lab. So
no, what they did was they made the potencies for us.
I wonder, did they use like a plant extract and then make the remedy from that? Okay. But then has that been triturated? Because that would be, because there's all this stuff these days with Paul Theriault and Kim Kalina, and they're triturating remedies up to a higher, like a C5. And it's just really interesting to see what comes through with that.
Yeah. So what we did with the traditional healers is we took other remedies to try and demonstrate to them how it works so that they could understand. So we did the trituration with them, and we showed them how to make remedies from scratch as part of our workshops. And it didn't matter if it was a bit like rough, but the actual provings we did with a 6C that had come from the lab. So we knew it was exactly a 6C, and, we wanted to standardize it a bit, but we did other little experiments. It was really fun with those guys.
It's so beautiful that you showed them like how our medicine's made and like handing that over, because I think intuitively they would resonate so much with what we do.
Completely. And we showed them, one of the most important things that we've done with our workshops was to show them how to use a tincture. Instead of, in Africa, it's a ematulita, and it's a huge big water decoction that you drink. So that's how it's normally dispensed. So we said, look, we can show you a different way. Make a tincture, put it in alcohol, and then you can leave it. It'll last forever, and you only need 3 drops. And they loved this. That was the first thing we showed them. And then we went from tincture to remedy. And it was really nice. I mean, they love, the workshops have been such a success.
Absolutely amazing. And does it tend to be, but it's more like the traditional healers that you go to? Hey, I know in some places they'll tend to go to the bishops or like the spiritual people of the location, but you just went to the traditional healers and worked with them.
So in Eswatini, there's about 5 different types of traditional healer. We have a very strong traditional medicine culture. The king is the custodian of traditional medicine. So what we did was we worked with the national parks, because that's where the endangered plants were. And it was a kind of a community outreach. So out of those traditional healers, there are different types. Some just divine with bones, and some are actually working with herbs. Others are just lay priests and healers. So we worked with the herbalists mostly. It wasn't really the other sangomas so much. So they're already herbalists. They're the kind of custodians of the herbal knowledge. And they're so knowledgeable. They have so much deep knowledge of the plants and where they grow and how you work with them. And our workshops became a kind of forum for the older traditional healers to share with the youngers. And the one guy, because we were giving them plants as well. That was the other component of our project. And the one guy was saying, no, but you can't plant African ginger in your homestead. It'll shoo all the other plants away, and it'll mess up with the herbs in your dispensary. And then the old guy says, no, you pay it to grow and it'll be fine. And they were having these really interesting kind of debates. And we would just sit back and let them. And it was lovely because they were probably never get together and discuss things like that.
So important, like to honor that traditional knowledge. And I think in every profession, we tend to not do that these days anymore, but it's so important that to the people that have walked before you, that have got that experience, they've learned a thing or two along the way, and it's worth having a listen.
Absolutely. And the parallels between how traditional medicine and homeopathy, there's so many parallels. That's one of the things in the book that Richard talks about, how the essence of healing is the same thing, whatever your system. Except, of course, some systems, which we won't go into.
I won't mention.
It's a synchronous thing. So it's been amazing working with these guys. And then when they were actually taking the remedies, we had the most hilarious things happening on our provings. The one guy, he came on the 3rd day and he said, oh, I need that one, some more of that for my wife. And he'd been giving his wife, he just randomly gave his wife the 6C because she had menstrual pain. And he says, no, she's better. We need some more. She wasn't even a prover.
Amazing.
So it was an African proving. It was really random. We were able to say, oh, yeah, that's interesting. So it has a menstrual thing as well. Yeah.
And are there many more plants that you have lined up?
No, actually, that project, we decided we need to consolidate now. We've got 6 new remedies. It's a lot of work, and we need to now start building them a bit and using them. The project continues, but we're not doing any more provings as such. We will do workshops for making tincture, and we're just still giving them remedies. So what happens is a workshop happens and a whole lot of new people come and they don't know what we're talking about. So we have to re-educate. So we'll still be doing the introduction to the homeopathy, and we're still growing the plants. That's now our big push. It's to build up a stock. One of them we haven't managed to grow at all. We can't get it to grow from seed, and it doesn't grow from cuttings. Oh. So there's a challenge. The others, we're slowly building up stock, enough so that we can give out 100 plants a year. So it's a big job, actually. So that's our main focus for the next 3 years. And building up the remedy, building up the pictures of the remedies.
I have a couple of tips for you. I'm sure Camilla Scher's already told you but I know she uses thuya when she germinates the seeds.
Oh, that's an idea.
Sprinkling with, yes. And also this one, is golden spirals. So the amazing Denitsa Appeline Matic created this remedy called golden spiral. And it's good for absolutely everything, including for your plants, because it's made on the Fibonacci spiral.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
you
The
put the
golden
golden,
mean.
yes, you could put the golden spiral remedy in the watering can and watering the plants with that. And it will really
Wow.
encourage their growth. And I've seen her plants that she grows with golden spiral. And yeah, they're
Amazing.
pretty luscious and beautiful. So yeah, that a good old agri homeopathy. But I know Camilla on her, when she was on the podcast, she said she uses thuya to help with the germination of the seeds.
We use silica. We've used silica, but that's the standard one. But that sounds amazing. I think we should try thuya.
Have a chat with Camilla. And
Yeah.
Christiana Malta was on the podcast as well, her mum wrote
We've
the
got
agri
her
homeopathy.
book.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a good
Yeah.
one too. But try golden spiral. And I just trying to think,
Great.
because it's so hard posting stuff to South Africa. Whenever I've posted parcels to my family, it always gets lost. But I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
I maybe just send
Is
you a
there
letter with a couple of pillules in there, like a couple of crushed pillules of
Oh,
some
great.
golden spiral, and you can like make it into a remedy.
Have you got a
that way.
Sulis code for it?
Ooh, I don't know. I will ask her to douse. And she created the remedy. I've got a podcast episode on. I'll send to you, but I'll ask her.
Great.
I'll ask her. Good idea with the
Because we
Sulis.
could just
And
make it with a Sulis.
you could. And you know what? After following Veda Austin and her amazing work with water crystallography, you could probably just have a picture of a golden spiral and like just put a glass of water on it and just make a remedy from that. Or maybe you could just hold the water and think golden spiral and water the plants. I don't know. My belief, my paradigms of what homeopathy is has just exploded. I'm like, anything goes. It's a free for all.
It's an ever expanding thing. Yeah.
It is. So tell me, Barbara, because you've been practicing since the mid 80s or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. And where do you see the future of homeopathy for yourself and for Eswatini? Are there many other homeopaths? Like, where do you see all of this going, or what's like your wildest dreams for where you want to see it go?
We have the most amazing team. And like just this last week, in 2 days, they did 80 patients, 2 of them by themselves. I wasn't there because I'm away at the moment. And I mean, that just the legacy of that is people who've got chronic conditions that have not shifted because the current system is just not addressing it. And we have a real crisis in Eswatini with drugs. There just aren't any drugs in the hospitals and the clinics. So I know what we're doing is an amazing support. It's for the rural communities, especially because they don't have access to help. And I think that's the legacy of the young homeopaths that I'm working with will continue. We have I work with an amazing team that's going to carry on. If we are able to sustain it, if we manage to keep the funding coming and it'll persist, people will get help. And that's the point, is that we can help people with a safe and affordable form of medicine.
Amazing. Now, I can anticipate what's going to happen because everyone's going to listen to this podcast and want to buy that book. And then the next question is going to be, how can they get hold of the remedies? So can you just answer that all here so I don't get a bunch of emails?
So for the moment, the remedies are available at WLAS because they made them. So you can, if you're in South Africa, you can just order them from them direct and they'll send you whatever you need. We are hoping to get them made into a higher potency as well. And the plan is to get Helios to have a stock as well. So they will be available from Helios. We haven't quite worked out the easiest way to do that.
And there's no codes for them.
No codes for them. No, but from the original, from the proper medicating potencies.
And see, there's something that's worth being honored in that. And that's why, as much as I like my radionics machine, I will always buy remedies as well, because it's like books.
Yeah.
Like I have some online homeopathy books, but I just want my actual hard copy homeopathy book. Like sometimes you just want that physical thing.
You want that little bottle. Yes.
You do. Excellent.
And we have them as well. So you could get them from us, but I don't know how you'd get them because it's the same issue with sending
so hard.
things.
It just gets lost in the mail.
Yeah.
It just never gets there. I gave up trying to do that a while ago. I did have somebody recently send me some remedies just in a card. They sent me like a birthday card with a little bit of white powder in it. It's like dodgy ass. Luckily it went through the postal system.
Yeah.
But that might be like a letter might be good. But as soon as they see a parcel, it just disappears.
Yeah. I think it's the world over. Yeah, but we're on it. We're working on getting, so far they're only up to 200. So
Mhm.
we're working on getting, we've found someone who will make them up to 1M, and then we'll get them to Helios. And I think actually if you go on WLAS's website and you order from them, can send them anywhere. They've somehow got a way to send them
Okay,
to the
magic
whole
powers.
world. But be careful when you go on their website. It doesn't look like they do homeopathy at all, because I know that problem with homeopathy in South Africa. It's being squashed
Oh,
severely by
really?
the Medicines Act. Yeah.
I did not know
So
that. I always thought it was really well accepted because the homeopaths there are trained to a medical level. So,
no, it's very sad what's happened. Like White in Cape Town is closed. There's all sorts of problems with licensing and stuff.
I had no
This new
idea.
act that came in 2015 or 2014. So yeah, it's there, but you've got to know where to look. But WLAST they have all our remedies and they can
Okay.
make up for people, but
Amazing.
only in a pillule or whatever. It's already made up. They won't give you a potentizing tincture.
That's fine. Barbara, thank you so much for coming on today. When I interviewed Richard and he said about this lady that's doing this stuff in Swaziland, I'm like, you have to give me her details. And it's been a little bit of a wait because I had I had to reschedule this a couple of times and it was worth the wait to get to
Oh,
see
I'm
you.
glad. I hope it's okay. I don't know.
It's pure perfection.
Jumped around a bit.
Do you ever take guest homeopaths from around the world to come and work in your clinic or?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. If they can get to us, we will. If they just need to get to us, we'll put them up. They can come on the clinics, and we love having volunteers. It enhances our space. So
Oh,
yeah.
amazing. And where's the best place for people to get hold of you?
So we do have a website, but something's happened to it. But go on our Facebook page, and we have a couple of we have our farmers market and the urban garden on Facebook. And on the Facebook page for the project, Swaziland Homeopathy Project, you'll see the link.
I found the Facebook page, the Swaziland Homeopathy Project, and
Yeah,
there's a link there,
that's it. So
kbraunweb.com. Okay.
just hit that, and it should take you to our website, which is probably a bit out of date.
That's good. No, I see your email address is there as well on there. No, it does take you to
Yeah,
the website, so that's all good.
great.
If we can
Yeah,
put that all in the show
that's
notes.
us.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Barbara. Is there any final messages you want to leave us with?
Oh no, what can I say? Just carry on. Thank goodness for homeopathy.
Thank goodness for homeopathy.
What would we do without it in our
Amen.
lives?
Amen to that. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Barbara. Have an amazing day. And oh my gosh, I hope I get to see you in Swaziland one day. That'll be amazing.
You're welcome anytime.
See ya.
Thank you, Eugenie.